ask you a couple questions, and we're going to get a chance to talk to the audience as well. Wanted to give you your moment there, Kobe. Congratulations. So I'll start with you, and we'll bring in the guys too. I was thinking about as I was reflecting on this movie, having now seen it, and thinking about it a lot. What were for you, Kobe, some of the earliest films, whether films with magical Negroes in them or other films that shaped you in your own interest in being a performer, a writer, and ultimately a writer-director? What are the movies that you want to sort of start by talking about?
Sure. Well, I would slide. Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, I expected to be booming. I guess the first person we have to start with is Spike Lee, who is, for those of you who don't know, he coined the term magical Negro. Has not put any in his films, but it was the one to call out this particular trope and give language to, something that I, as a kid watching, prestige movies in the 90s, sort of saw and was uncomfortable with, but didn't have language for, So for me, it has to sort of start with him and that particular act of criticism, really, that was a gift to me. And then beyond that, the one other thing I'd say about him is that I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I didn't have, shout out, where I didn't have a ton of access to independent film, to history of film. I had what went to the multiplex, and Spike Lee was the one black filmmaker, and I have a ton of other influences since then. I think I make very different work than the beautiful work that he makes. But I remember seeing, Do the Right Thing for the first time and just feeling like I was taking a breath. I was like, oh, this is, this, I always joke about magical Negro movies feeling beige, right? If you think back to them, they're all sort of, they're very serious and they're very important. There's going to be an Oscar and they're brown, But there's just a vitality to that felt really true to me and unexpected, and that's stuck in my brain. And then there's a million films. I mean, the film I think about this a lot is Hal Ashby's The Landlord, which is a movie I cherish and is tonally really adventurous. And not a lot of people have seen this, you should see that. But there's a long legacy of beautiful things that I think are in me and in this film, beyond the magical Negro movies, which don't have to be.
Well, tell me about not only casting the two gentlemen on either side of you, start there, and then maybe help us take us into your process, finding the right folks to bring these characters and this story to life.
Sure. Well, Justice.
I look like younger Kobe, so it was an obvious choice to play him in the movie.
The best part about being a filmmaker is you get to cast younger, more attractive versions of yourself. and every time you're cutting, you're like, yeah, this is what I look like. This is the level of charisma I move through the world with. I love this character. But Justice came up to the Sundance Labs with me in 2019. And that's a real leap of faith as an actor, because basically you're going to Utah for a month with a first-time film, not even like a sub-first-time filmmaker, right? And workshopping the film with a skeleton crew. And, that's for an actor at the level he was at when he decided to do that, even, it was a really generous choice. But I
had nothing else to do.
Your words. But yeah, then we hit it off. I remember immediately he came in and said 3 things about the character. And I'm like, yep, you understand this guy. And then, we've been in touch for years. He came over and workshopped different drafts of it. The first time I did that big presentation scene, he came and read it in my living room with some friends, And then David was much later. David is an icon, and and one of those actors that you grow up admiring, and you just did that sort of silly, audacious thing where you write a very formal letter and say, I really enjoy your work, Mr. Allen, and sent the script, and David was generous enough to read it and think about it, and we talked about it, and he agreed to do it. So that's that. Yeah.
David, tell us about that letter. Tell us about the outreach, not just the script, but the early conversations with Kobe.
Well, you know, you always have that conversation, your agents, your manager, my managers are here today, they go, oh, we have this great script, just read it, tell us what you think. So I read the script, I really liked it, and then I said, well, who is this director? And they said, he's a first-time director, and I'm like, fuck. I mean, do they have money? And he said, yeah, man, they're ready to go. And he wrote it too, and they said, yeah, he wrote it too, and I'm like, fuck. But it all worked out. I really liked it. I think it's really smart, it's intelligent. And I mean, you never know with these kinds of things what'll happen, but I really revel in working with younger artists of color, exploring different points of view, and it was just a different kind of script. I mean, I actually, for years, tried to get those magical Negro parts, but I never got them. I wasn't a good magical Negro, so, and strangely, a paradox for black actors, that has always been a path to a certain success if you were willing to pay the toll, because we've all seen, you know, those movies, man. I saw Driving Miss Daisy, and it was like, these white folks were weeping. They were crying. They used like Kleenex. They were like, oh God. So I was like, damn, I gotta get one of these motherfuckers. So I'm in this instead.
David, maybe you're opening up a next chapter for yourself. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think the magical Negro shit is for me, but maybe other stuff.
Tell us a little bit about the collaborations. So you're cast, you've got the script, you're on set. Give us a window into the work you all did together to find maybe tonally the right touch for this satire, also the humanity. Help us understand some of the conversations the three of you had, and with your other actors, to sort of find the right notes and the right marks.
Yeah, sure. If you want to,
No, go ahead.
I've silenced you at this point, but so these guys got it right away, you know, and there wasn't a ton of conversation about that, you know, just because they were sort of in the pocket of the tone right away. The way I describe the tone of the piece, or the sensibility on finding the tonal line in the piece, is you're trying to find the difference between wouldn't it be crazy if that happened, and that's so crazy it would never happen. And you're trying to ride as close to that line as you possibly can, because that's where the fun and the joy and the hyperbole is. But then as soon as you switch over and puncture the reality, it becomes, you just can't tell the story of its size and depth and seriousness and purpose. So it's a constant calibration of like, oh, I think we can go a little faster and harder. I think we can play around a little more. And then, whoop, we went too far. Let's bring it back. You know. But these guys were there the whole time.
I think one of Kobe's many gifts is his ability to adapt and to compromise. Like, he had such an original vision for this film, but when we signed on, he was really adamant about having his actors improv and express their own ideas about the character. And I remember, like, one of the biggest tonal challenges that we had, and I see a lot of white people in this audience, but was casting the white people in the movie, was because I did a lot of chemistry reads with actors who played Jason, and a lot of white actors came in and were like, bro, hey bro, like, they like overdid the ignorance, and it was almost like this phenomenon to see that a lot of white people don't see themselves as the problem, and so they have to imitate someone who is the problem. And I know Kobe and I were really passionate about showing and Drew Tarver's performance in this is so amazing, showing someone who's saying problematic stuff out of oblivion, out of ignorance, but has grounding, has humor, has light, because if white people don't see themselves in that character, they won't make the change within themselves. So I know that was a real challenge for us.
It was a really fascinating sort of, because I love actors, I think they're actually incredible, but it was a really fascinating empathy blind spot for a number of white actors in terms of they thought to do something racist, one had to be some kind of cartoon very distant from them. you know? And it was like, no, you're just a person. And so we ended up having these sort of strange conversations where I'm like, no, let me justify his racism. No, let me do it. You know, to try to pull that behavior into real human behavior, because I really do think every white person in the film is quite well intentioned. I don't think there are, you know, real sort of like raging bigots in the film, which to me is part of what makes the racism and the potential violence and the danger that much more insidious, is that these are good people, and still these people are subject to what they're subject to in the film as a result of these good people just moving through the world with their ones.
A lot of the racism that I've experienced has been at the hands of like friends and family, like people who really mean well, who don't know what they're saying, don't know like what it's like to live in our shoes, because there's not a lot of discussion around that. But I was just about to say something and I forget.
Well, think about it, you know, maybe. You know what, I just wanted to say that, like, when I think about this, there's so much time I spent in my career working on lesser projects or scripts and trying to explain to white creators why I couldn't say this, why it was offensive, why we need to rethink this scene or this dialogue. And it is exhausting, man. It's a joy when I get to work on projects where there's a sympathetic ear, a sympathetic mind, so I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna strategize getting around this other person and still doing service to the role, you know. So that was it.
Thank you to each of you. Let's do this. Let's bring up the lights, and we're going to take a couple questions from the audience. And this movie invites a reaction. The reaction might be different based on who we select, who raises their hand to
They're all
ask.
running away.
So we're looking at you now, audience. No pressure. Who has a question? And I'm going to go right here. I see you right there. Yes, the baseball cap. Welcome. Question for those who are not here, all the way in the back. What would you offer as advice to the younger filmmakers in the audience right now listening to you?
You're not wrong, right? You know, and I think one of the most challenging things about doing a piece that is in any way original, not even just along racial lines, is there is a persistent sort of energy that you are somehow broken or sort of malformed, and your point of view is somehow malformed, that if only you would fit it into these existing archetypes, that would be a professional way forward. And I would just love to burn it into the brain of every young filmmaker here that your point of view is all you have. And I promise you, if you hang on to that, it will find its way forward if it's a point of view that people want to hear.
Okay, I'm gonna go all the way back there. I see like a green sweater with someone with a mask on. Yes. Hi.
Thank you so much. As someone who works in marketing and design, I felt a lot of feelings watching this film. And we see a lot of different characters who have these niches of their clients who work with. So I'm curious if you could talk more about what you said to set this main story in a particular space or a particular group of people.
Question about setting this story in this space with this particular set of people.
Yeah, so it's about a particular ethos, sort of I would say sort of a libertarian ethos, right? That I think is uniquely reflected by the tech world right now, which is that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? That you can be a founder, you can just be in the garage and have a brilliant idea and become one of these tech bears. To me, that's sort of the oil boom right now in terms of articulating this sort of long-standing American mythology about merit and achievement, right? And obviously so much of the film is about the way some of those mythologies about America and who is first and who is second and how we get to first and how we get to second. So much of the film is challenging those mythologies and offering my own experience of moving through the world. And to me, that tech world is a useful stand-in for, again, that sort of sense of pulling yourself up when I, as a Black person, know we're much more dependent on each other and much more impacted by the broader society that we're in. And however brilliant the idea in my garage is, I'm still a Black person moving through the world. I'm going to be subject to some different shit than the other person who might already be a tech billionaire.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna do just one more question, and I'm gonna go right here, like the 6th row right here. Yes, yeah, I see you.
Hi, David, it's Ronnie.
Ronnie Love, ladies and gentlemen.
Director, thank you so much. When the trailer fell on X, formerly known as Twitter, everybody was like questioning what type of movie this is. So now Carl and I can go and tell everybody this is a fantastic fucking movie. Justice, I cried during the speech. I want you to know that. And David, you know I love you. I don't have a question. I'm just.
Okay, round it up.
No, I just was giving my props to Ronnie Love.
Thank you. Okay, last question. I saw someone up here. Yes, I see you.
Wait, okay. As an Aussie, she's curious to why an Australian is the CEO. It wasn't. Okay, go ahead.
Just raw bigotry, man.
Is it obvious? It's obvious.
Like, it's a very inclusive film, except for one group of people, and I think that, that part of it is trying to dance around, because he's not, there are obviously a lot of people who come to mind when you think of those tech billionaires, and there's a little bit of a game there where it's an amalgam of several of them. It's not designed to be any one. And so part of it is, we couldn't really think of one from Australia that would pull people archetypically right to a one-to-one comp that we weren't trying to make. I love Australia.
Wasn't it Rupert's pitch?
Yeah, it was Rupert's pitch too. Rupert was excited about the dialect too, so you know what I mean. Let the man live, you know.
Rupert just came in with doing an Australian accent. Kobe was like, okay.
That's right. But behind the scenes, we talked about a number of different dialects, and everyone we land on, we're like, oh, this place feels like it'll read too much like this guy. This place feels like it'll read too much like this guy. In Australia, we felt choice the filmmaker loves to say, safe. Love making safe choices in my art.
The American Society of Magical Negroes opens on March 15th. I want to thank Kobe, Justice, and David for spending today with us and sharing this movie with us. Congratulations.